Welcome to Let's Talk Crisis podcast, the podcast where we talk with communication experts to dissect, deconstruct, and demystify the world of crisis communications and its consequences. I'm Kerry-Ann.
And I'm Hannah. From reputation management, corporate leadership, and crisis leadership, we bring an academic lens to professional practice.
So let's talk crisis.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very first special episode of Let's Talk Crisis, the podcast. I'm Caroline Conkle.
I'm Kerry-Ann Moyo.
And I'm Hannah Pittman.
So Let's Talk Crisis is a podcast that we created with our colleagues, and we are super excited to be releasing it within the next couple of weeks. We aim to dissect, deconstruct, and demystify the world of crisis communication. And a lot of what we're going to be doing today is talking about what is Let's Talk Crisis and why are we doing it, what's the purpose, and kind of just getting everybody connected on the same page about the entire thing. So I'm going to be hosting as a producer, and then Kerry-Ann and Hannah are going to be answering questions as they are our lovely hosts for Let's Talk Crisis. So let's begin. Let's start with the very bare bone basics. Who are you guys? What do you do? What's your lives like? Talk about you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Kerry-Ann Moyo. I am a first-year graduate student, and so that is what most of my life looks like now. Classes and TAing. I did my undergrad at University of Richmond in rhetoric and communication, so I'm still a comms girly. I love the world of communications. I'm trying to think what else. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and when it comes to my professional interest, I've recently been interested in kind of the crisis comms world, as we are here, and branding as well, and so I'm really interested to see how those two things may work together in my career in the future.
I'm Hannah. I am also a master's student in the strategic communication program. I got my bachelor's in advertising and public relations, and then I also did a minor in sociology. My professional experience has been pretty diverse. I've been on the agency side, the corporate side, and also the nonprofit side. I'm super passionate about community relations. I'm a people person. I love to be out, meeting new people, connecting brands to people. I also have a huge passion for crisis communications on the corporate side. So I'm super excited to be here hosting this podcast.
Yeah, we're super excited. These two women are great. So this is going to be super fun. So Kerry-Ann, let's talk about what is Let's Talk Crisis. Why the podcast? Why are we making this? What are we creating it for?
Yeah, absolutely. So Let's Talk Crisis kind of started as an idea of we want to dissect the world of crisis. So there's so much happening in the crisis comms world, and we're in a class actually, the crisis communications graduate class, and our professor thought, how do we bridge the world of academia and professional practice? Like theories that are driving change. And I know that we've seen a lot in academia that, scholars do these amazing articles and come up with all these theories, but they're not really being applied in the workplace, and so you still see crisis happen because whatever the crisis team is not applying the principles that make sense. And so we really want to bridge the gap between what makes sense in theory and what actually is applicable in practice, and just helping people understand not just like the deep scholarly things, but also just how can you apply some of the things that we're talking about, and then kind of bring the world together of academia and professionals and try to be more impactful in the crisis comms world. So, yeah.
Right. So you mentioned like you are particularly interested and, maybe passionate is maybe not the correct word, but passionate about crisis. Why is that? Like, is there any specific reason crisis communication is your thing that you love?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, just from what I've been learning, I think that the reality is like where there's humans, there is crisis. And I think being able to control the narrative is so important. Like as a storyteller, I think the story of the company that you tell, upholding their story, upholding their values is so important. And being able to be like the first responder in order to like maintain and preserve that narrative, but also engineer that narrative. And that might sound a bit manipulative, but it's not. It's really just trying to help continue that trust and that perception from the audience of what the company is truly about and what they value. On. So I think it's an opportunity to tell a really good story, hopefully an ethical and truthful story, because we are seeing times when crisis comms is done poorly and the people who do need to be, brought into that conversation aren't being brought in. And so I've seen so many tragic examples of crisis comms going really, really badly. And so I'm like, there's definitely room here for improvement. And I'd love to be one of those people to help it happen.
Right. So Hannah, now I'm going to pass this over to you. Yes. Why is crisis communication important to you? Why is understanding what happens during a crisis so important?
So yeah, being prepared in a crisis is like the most important step that you can take. It helps organizations communicate more effectively, maintain trust, and also just respond quicker, like in the moment. In today's digital age specifically, crisis and rumors can spread like so quickly. And so I think it's really important that brands and organizations take the steps to be prepared, and also know what to expect in a crisis.
No, absolutely. And to you, what do you hope to gain from making a podcast like this? What is our purpose? What is our why to you?
Yeah. So, in class in academia, we learn so many different theories and models, and it's so easy to like understand these and like know how they work on paper. But in the real world, it's not always like that. Like no one crisis is the same, and no outcome is ever going to be the same. And so I think on this podcast, we will try to bridge the gap between academia, like what the book says, but then also what happens in the real world. So bringing in experts in examining these real world experiences through the academic lens will really give us a more nuanced understanding and hopefully a deeper knowledge of crisis as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm going to let y'all pass this mic between yourselves, I'm going to have both of you answer this question. If you had to describe this podcast in one word, what would you say it is?
For me, the first thing that comes to mind is translators. So we want to be the people that take these big, complex academic theories and ideas and kind of put them into a real world scenario. And so we want to show how a crisis really unfolds in real life, but also examine it with this academic lens that we have.
Yeah. Kerry-Ann?
Yeah, I would say elevated conversation. I think we definitely wanted anyone who is not in academia or who maybe doesn't know anything about crisis communication to tune in and be able to learn and have some takeaways. And then obviously we want it to be in depth enough for those who are very familiar with the field to still find new insights and a different perspective. I think we all have different perspectives, and even the guests will have different perspectives. And I think one thing you were saying before is that being prepared is like everything. And I hope that people even on crisis teams could actually like watch the podcast and have some ideas on how they can help their company be more prepared. And so just an elevated conversation that I'm hoping reaches those who actually have the power to make change.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, we're going to be pushing out like a couple of episodes throughout the next couple of weeks. What are you most excited about? Is there a guest? Is there someone that we're thinking about that we are excited to see? A conversation maybe particularly like either of you are excited to have? Tell me more.
Yeah, well, this may seem like the easy answer, but I'm honestly really excited for the first episode that we'll have with Dr. Joshua Bentley on apologies. And I just think that this whole concept of like, he introduced me to the idea that you don't actually always have to apologize, or like an apology is not always the best strategy. And that's kind of a new perspective for me, trying to understand when a company should apologize and how a company should apologize. And it talks a lot about value. So I'm really interested and excited about his conversation, because I think he also talks about how sometimes apologizing when it's not necessarily like needed actually damages a company's reputation and creates a very surface level relationship with the public. So I think it's going to be very, very insightful, and I'm really excited to ask him some questions. He also has a book that recently came out, so I hope to nerd out a little bit and see if our audience can take away a few things as well.
Right. Hannah?
For me, I'm mostly excited about just getting this podcast up and going, and also like building a community of crisis communicators and meeting all of these new experts. I think that everybody brings in a very diverse and unique point of view and opinion on crisis. And so I think it'll be very interesting to hear about all these different experts' experiences in the real world.
Absolutely. I think we have such a unique like opportunity and experience to have. And I'm also super excited. I am totally with you guys, especially about apologies. I think also just because I am like, Dr. Bentley is the best. But also, I mean, that's a little biased, but I think that there's a lot of like great elements to everything that we're going to be doing. And I think that there is a lot of good conversations that will come out of this, and how can we avoid crises in the future. And I think that'll be really cool to see what professionals have to say to us. So again, this is Let's Talk Crisis, the podcast. We're going to be releasing an episode in the next few weeks about public apologies and how to handle those during crisis. We are ecstatic to be here. I'm Kerry-Ann Conkle.
I'm Kerry-Ann Moyo.
And I'm Hannah Pittman.
Also, please be sure to check us out on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all the places at Let's Talk Crisis Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.